Welcome to New You Lesson 10. I'm excited to share today's lesson with you, all about portion size and portion control. In addition to portion size, we will address the topic of moderation, balance, and variety. When it comes to eating, we have so many influences that determine what we view as a reasonable portion size and how we think we should feel after we eat. This can leave us feeling confused and unsure of how much is the right amount. We know we don't want to eat too much, and now that we are viewing food as fuel, we don't want to eat too little. Just like Goldilocks, we want it just right. Let's get started and find out how much that is. Here's what we will be covering today: society and portion size, what is a reasonable portion, measuring in scales, satisfied, full, stuffed, moderation, balance, and variety. The bigger the better, the more the merrier. More is better. Our society buys into these maxims in an extra large way. If one is good, two is better. If one bowl is good, then a bottomless bowl is better. If one soda is good, then free refills are better. However, when it comes to eating, bigger is not better. Not for our health, not for our waistline, not for our energy, and heck, not for our wallet. It is important to recognize how pervasive these ideas are because they affect us whether we like it or not. Excess and extra defines many areas of our culture, and food is definitely one of those areas. But at what cost? Obesity is at an all-time high. Truly, we would be wise to look at another maxim: less is more. This does not mean that we should starve ourselves. We have covered why that is a bad idea pretty thoroughly. It means that we need to check in with ourselves and determine if we are bitten by the more is better bug, and if it is affecting how we eat. There is a balance, of course. Food is fuel, and we need to be eating enough food, but we don't want to be overfilling the tank either. So what is a reasonable portion? How do we know what is reasonable? The simple answer is that a reasonable portion is going to be highly dependent on your individual needs. A child and a 6-foot-tall man are obviously going to have different food needs, and a 5-foot-tall woman will have different food needs than a 5'9" woman. In general, we can gauge a reasonable portion size with something we all have on hand all the time: our fist. Yep, that's right. Your fist is a great way to keep yourself accountable in the portion department. Here at Alaska Fit, we like to say, measure by your hand, not your head. The great thing about your hand is that you always have it with you, and that everyone's hand are different sizes based on your body size, which affects your caloric needs. The other key to eating reasonable portions is awareness. You have to learn to tune into your body's cues to tell if you are hungry or satisfied. This will mean that you have to slow down when you eat. Set your fork down in between bites. Take deep breaths before you start eating. Relax and enjoy. Being present while you eat helps you to keep your portions moderate because you're paying it enough attention to tell when your body has had enough. Using your first fist and increasing your awareness are great places to start when it comes to portion size, but they are not the only resources available to us. When you start here at Alaska Fit, you receive a meal plan. That meal plan tells you what a normal portion size is for your caloric needs. If you look at the quantity and measure columns, that information is all at your fingertips. However, if you ignore those columns and just look at the types of food in each meal, you are missing a huge resource. To make the most out of that resource, I would suggest measuring and weighing your food until you can accurately eyeball a reasonable portion size. This doesn't always mean you will have to eat less. In fact, in some cases, you will need to be giving yourself more to eat. If your meal plan says to eat a cup of brown rice and you are consistently only getting half of a cup, then you'll be hungry. Conversely, if you are supposed to be eating half a cup and you are getting a whole cup, you might be overdoing it. Measuring your food and using a food scale is not something you have to do forever, but it certainly helps give you an accurate picture of what you are eating and what you should be eating. You can use your food scale to measure out your food to see what you should be eating, but you can also portion out your food and then measure it to see how much you automatically give yourself. Both methods will help you refine your understanding of a reasonable portion. I want to take a minute to cover fully something we touched on earlier. That is the topic of awareness. When we are eating, we will want to begin to notice when we are satisfied, when we are full, and when we are stuffed. Satisfied is exactly as it sounds. You feel like you have had a good meal and you are no longer hungry. Full is a step beyond satisfied. You feel heavy in your belly and maybe want to take a little nap after eating. Stuffed is when you are physically uncomfortable after eating. You may have to loosen your belt and you won't be moving for a while. We want to be aware enough to close our meals and our mouths when we are satisfied. As we develop our awareness, we will be able to be more moderate with our eating. This essentially boils down to eating in a way that will help us to feel our best. Even when we are indulging in a treat and eating far more for pleasure than the nutrition it is giving us, we still want to be moderate. One decadent brownie with a cup of coffee is great. A pan of decadent brownies is not great. We are going to feel lousy after that, and not just from guilt. Our body just isn't made to process all that sugar and refined product. Moderation is thinking ahead when making food choices. Moderation means that we combine what we know about how food makes us feel and from our awareness with our actions and habits. In addition to being moderate with our food, we want to achieve balance as well. We can be moderate in our portions and still end up not feeling the greatest. If we have reasonable portions of a lot of junky food, then we're still going to feel bad. We want to balance our treats with good food so that when we do indulge, it doesn't leave us feeling poopy. Again, we want to look ahead so that we can best achieve that balance. We need to give ourselves a few moments to think through our day so that we ensure that we will be getting lots of good food that will help us feel great. If you know you will be going out to eat or attending a party and you aren't sure about the quality of food you will be getting, making sure the first part of the day you load up on good food is going to help. This is especially helpful when you are traveling. When you travel, it is hard to know what any given day was going to look like. Starting with a great breakfast will help ensure no matter what happens during the day that we had a great start nutritionally. Balance and variety go hand in hand because we need a variety of healthy foods to have a balanced day. Again, this takes a little time and forethought. If we are always running from one thing to the next, then we won't be in a place to ensure that we have variety in our diet. Variety means getting foods from every food group every day. We want foods from veggies, fruit, whole grains, protein sources, and fats. We also want a variety from each of those groups. For instance, vegetables have 5 categories. Dark green vegetables, such as broccoli, spinach, romaine, and mustard greens. Orange vegetables, such as pumpkins, sweet potatoes, carrots, and winter squash. Legumes, such as lentils, dried beans, and dried peas. Starchy, such as white potatoes, corn, and green peas. And then other, such as tomatoes, onions, green beans, and lettuce. We also want to get variety from each of the other groups. If you have your favorites and your go-to items on your list, that is just fine. Just make sure you aren't eating, say, all potatoes and tomatoes. add some dark greens and legumes. Looking over our day to make sure we have variety will help us to look and feel our best. So let's review. We've talked about satiety and portion size, what is a reasonable portion, measuring and scales, satisfied, full, and stuffed, moderation, balance, and variety. Thank you for joining me for New You Lesson 10. Join us next time for New You Lesson 11, when we will teach you all you need to know about journaling and how it can transform your health and fitness journey. And remember, it's not about getting into shape, it's about getting into life.